All right, good morning. Local Government Committee will come to order. Clerk, if you can call the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
All right, first a couple items. Briefly, for those online expecting testimony, as we call the bill number, please raise your hand if you'd like to speak for or against the bill. That way our team can identify which bills you might be interested in. When you do and are called on to speak online, please turn on your camera and present your support or opposition. First off this morning, we have a couple housekeeping items. House Bill 776 on page 4 of your docket, delegate hearing. A similar cognate in the Senate was referred to courts. And is there a motion to re-refer House Bill 776 to courts? There's a motion and a second for referral. Clerk, open the roll. All right, that bill is re-referred. Next up is House Bill 467, Delegate Simons, page 3 of your docket. This was heard in general laws, and the chair has asked it also to be similarly heard in that committee and would recommend its re-referral to general laws. There's a motion. General laws, it's House Bill 467. Delegate Simon. All right, clerk, open the roll. All right, that bill is re-referred. Next up, House Bill 725, Delegate Wiebert, page 6 of your docket. The patron has requested that bill go by for the day. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion. There's a second. There's a motion. A second. All in favor of passing Bill 725 by for the day, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That bill is passed by for the day. So we're going to go through House bills identical to Senate bills and uncontested. We're going to move through that docket. There's several that need to be re-referred to finance. I will identify those as we go. We'll then take up House bills that are identical to Senate bills and contested, followed by House bills that are similar to Senate bills, followed by House bills without a Senate companion and uncontested, and then those that are contested. So we do have a sign up. We're going to go through the identical and uncontested first. House Bill 233, Delegate Campbell. This is in regards to the Virginia Economic Development Partnership Authority eligible site and development grant program that this committee heard. It passed out of this committee 15-0 and passed the Senate 38-0. And it's the companion to Senate Bill 135 from Senator Head and was re-referred to finance. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to report and re-refer House Bill 233. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 14, no 0.
All right, that bill is out of here. Next up is House Bill 415, Delegate Converse Fowler, Charter of City Beach Board of Equalization. That also was Senate Bill 262 from Senator Craig, which reported from this committee 13-0. It passed the Senate 40-0. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second to report House Bill 415. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 14, no 0.
All right, that bill is out of here. Next up is House Bill 1070, Delegate Moorfield. Couldn't see you back there. Delegate, you have a substitute. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
All right, is there a motion on the substitute?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the substitute. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Delegate, you want to explain briefly the substitute?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There was a Senate bill that was presented earlier on this, and there was some concern that there may be a fiscal impact. The substitute would only pertain to procurement related to the Southwest Virginia Recreational Authority.
All right, Delegate, and my understanding is that your substitute removes some of the fiscal impact?
Yes, sir.
Is that right? All right, and this bill has been requested and is going to Senate Finance and Appropriations.
Move to report and re-refer to Senate Finance.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report and re-refer the substitute to Finance and Appropriations. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 14, no 0.
All right, enjoy the trip to finance.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Delegate. All right, next up, we have House Bill 208. Delegate Simons, Comprehensive Plan, Healthy Community Strategy, is identical to Senate Bill 595, Senator Bagby and Aird, which had a slightly contested vote out of this committee.
Move to report.
Delegate, you just want to say good morning to us?
I wondered if I could conform mine to the Senate version. There's a substitute.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion and a second to conform to Senate Bill 595. All in favor, say aye.
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 Move to report.
Second,
There's a motion and a second to report
the substitute.
the substitute on House Bill 208. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 9, noes 5.
That bill reports. Next up, we have House Bill 459, Delegate Sullivan, regarding conservation of trees during a land development process in certain localities. This was identical to Senate Bill 121. Senator Subramanian reported from General Laws 15-0 and passed the Senate 40-0, but had a contested vote for some reason on the House. Delegate Sullivan, what happened to your colleagues?
I've never been able to explain my colleagues, Mr. Chair.
Good answer.
Move to report.
There's a motion and a second. Motion and a second to report 459, which passed the Senate unanimously. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do my best work when I don't talk.
We agree. Now I get to talk on the Senate floor and pass your bill, Delegate. We appreciate that. And thank you, Senator McGuire, for that privilege. All right. Let's see. House Bill 478. Next up, Delegate Coiner, a Community Revitalization Fund expanding use for all localities.
You did 467?
467 has already been re-referred to general laws. House Bill 478 is now before the committee, which was identical to Senate Bill 49 from Senator Locke, which reported from general local government 12-0 and passed the Senate 40-0.
So move to report, Mr. Chair.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 478. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Evidently, my colleagues want to speak to each bill on the floor, even though they were uncontested. All right, next up is House Bill 1486. Delegate Thomas, vacant buildings registration. This is identical to Senate Bill 48 also. We had previously 49, which reported from local government 11-0 and passed the Senate 40-0.
Despite the patron, move to report, Mr. Chair.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 1486. Clerk, open the roll.
Oh, come on. It's his first time here.
Where's this throwing the red around?
Ayes 10, noes 4.
All right, next up is House Bill 1410, Delegate O'Quinn, Russell County Industrial Development Authority appointments. This is similar to Senate Bill 727.
Move to conform. Move to
I think
conform.
well, Delegate O'Quinn is coming in, and I think we have some technical amendments once Delegate O'Quinn joins us at the dais to briefly explain the amendments so we can adopt them and move this 40-0 bill on as amendment. Good morning, Delegate O'Quinn.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a line amendment that would, on line 38, strike the word each and insert a, which makes it identical to Senator Pillion's aforementioned 40-0 bill.
Move the amendment.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the amendments. All in favor say aye.
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 Move to report as
Some amendments are before us. Jeff, you've got those amendments, and those are correct, and those line them up. All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 1410 as amended. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
That bill reports. Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And next up, we have House Bill 1488, Delegate Henson. Local government standardization of public notice requirements, certain public hearings and actions. That was similar to Senate Bill 413 from Senator Head, which reported out of the Senate 40-0, but you do have some technical amendments. Is that correct, Delegate?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So there are 3 technical amendments. Line 930, strike more, insert less. Line 1342, strike more, insert less. And line 1891, strike the remainder of line 1890 and all other lines.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, the amendment that's posted on LAS is a substitute which incorporates those line amendments.
Correct.
That the delegate just referred to.
Mr. Chair,
All right. And that conforms and lines up the technical issues, correct?
Form it with the Senate bill, which is crossover to the House.
move to substitute.
There's a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor say aye. 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 Those opposed? Substitute is properly before us.
Move to report the substitute.
One follow-up question. Is this your first bill?
No.
Before local government?
You all, yes, but this is third bill.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to report 1488. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 14, no 0.
All right, that bill reports as amended. All right, next section, we're up to House bills without Senate companion and uncontested. We have House Bill 128, Delegate Watts. We're going to go through. Come on up, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 128 deals with the permission for localities to enact ordinances regulating certain vendors. And this clarifies that nothing in this authority shall be construed to prohibit the protected rights of free speech that have been upheld by the courts numerous times as far as legitimate political activity, which does not involve any type of vending, exchange of compensation. It's just purely free speech, and this is what it deals with. It grew out of an incident, and it is there before you.
Thank you, Delegate Watts. You have a few questions in the queue. We have Delegate Rome, followed by Senator Rome and Senator Williams-Graves.
Every time.
Senator Rome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, a question for council. Okay, thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chair.
Rome.
So question for council is, would this also apply to HOAs? Say, for example, in my community, I've got Heritage Hunt, gated community, and at the same time, they've restricted knocking on doors for campaigns. They briefly lifted that window for like 3 weeks this last year, but then they closed it again. So how would this affect private HOAs located within a locality?
Mr. Chair, I would say to Delegate Rome, as crafted, it deals narrowly with those who are required to register as a campaign committee. It does not deal with League of Women Voters and other people who might be...
Delegate Watts, we're going to refer the question to council.
I'm sorry, my apologies.
That's okay.
Mr. Chair, in general, a statute can't override HOI regulations, but in this instance, we're talking about constitutional rights. So an HOA in that case cannot override constitutional protections.
So, Mr. Chair, follow-up question.
Senator Rome.
It would be my understanding then, Mr. Chair, that a HOA in that case would not be able to prohibit door knockers who are participating directly on behalf of a candidate who has met the criteria in this bill.
Mr. Chair, I'd say
Counsel.
that's correct to the extent that they're following case law that would prohibit that, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Senator Williams-Graves, followed by Senator Suderline. Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the patron, Delegate, is this designed to regulate those people going door to door selling windows and knocking on doors to get you to do house repairs and things of that nature? Does that not include those people?
Mr. Chairman, I would say to Delegate Williams-Graves that the underlying statute deals with such vendor activity, but the bill before you does not. It clarifies that that underlying statute does not apply to the freedom of speech right as counsel has just outlined.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chair. Thank you, Delegate Watts.
All right, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to ask the patron if this manifested itself somewhere during the most recent election and where that was.
Delegate Watts.
I only hesitated to bring up the incident because it is a concern that I would have very broadly. But the incident involved two specific times when both the political party representative, who was black, and the school board candidate, who was black, were challenged by the same individual as not conforming with our ordinance that is specific, as this would apply statewide. Our ordinance in Fairfax so applies. The police took the right action, but by putting it in code, we make sure that such an unfortunate incident does not occur elsewhere, no matter what the circumstances.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Senator Suderline, followed
Thank
by
you.
Senator Bagby.
So this happened during a school board race in Fairfax County this year? Is that?
Mr. Chairman, I would say to the senator that, yes, we elect everybody every 4 years, so this was part of a lot of campaign activity.
Mr. Chair, thank the patron.
All right, Senator Bagby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if there's no one here to speak in opposition, I have a motion.
Any opposition to House Bill 128? All right, Senator Bagby.
Move the report.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 128. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
That bill reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Delegate. Next up, we have Delegate Campbell, House Bill 136. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. House Bill 136 would allow the City of Stanton to waive or reduce utility fee connections in the Uniontown neighborhood. For those of you who don't know about Uniontown, this was a small village that was established in Augusta County. After the Civil War, a Union cemetery for our troops was established in the area, and a number of the residents, the black residents in that community, established their community beside the cemetery. It was a vibrant community in the 20s with about 64 households. In 1948, the area was largely annexed by Stanton City, and in 1962, the Stanton City Council reclassified that area as light industrial. So people were not able to improve their homes or do anything really to keep their homes nice. So essentially what happened is the neighborhood, it became decimated. And today there's really no one there. But the city 2 years ago decided that they wanted to right the wrong. And so this is really an important bill to me because it's a chance that we have to reestablish that community so that it can be vibrant again. I hope you will look at it favorably.
Great, thank you, Delegate. Any amendments or substitutes at all? Just double check and make sure.
I'm sorry.
Any amendments at all?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the committee? Any online?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there's one online.
All right, proceed with your testimony. I think this bill is in pretty good shape, so give your brief testimony.
John Blair, you may unmute and turn your camera on and give your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to thank Delegate Campbell and the committee for your consideration of this bill, and just wanted to let you know that the City of Stanton has already amended its comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance for Uniontown, and this bill would help in that renewal and revitalization process. Thank you.
As the birthplace of the city manager form of government, we appreciate it.
Report,
any opposition to House Bill 136? All right, is there a motion?
Move to report.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 136. Please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
All right, that bill
Thank you.
reports. Thank you, Delegate. Next up is House Bill 281, Delegate Reeser.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. House Bill 281 is a permissive bill that gives local option to establish child daycare centers within office buildings.
We have the Senate cognate of this. Okay, thank you. And this, we did have a Senate cognate of this from Senator Favola. I'm sorry, I just didn't make it to our list, and that also reported out unanimously, I believe. So any questions? Outstanding. This team is acting fast this morning. There's a motion and a second to report House Bill 281. Clerk, please open the roll. All right.
Ayes 15, no 0.
That bill reports.
Thanks very much.
All right, next up is, let's see, House Bill 299. Delegate Ballard. Let's talk about
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. So House Bill 299 is also a permissive bill. It provides a local option to localities to exempt any dog that served as a law enforcement dog or military working dog from the locality's animal license tax. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We did add over in the House language to make sure that the animal is current on vaccinations. This comes as a recommendation from Montgomery County, which I share with Senator Suderline, Senator Hackworth, and I believe one of the Board of Supervisors, Steve Fidzikowski, is online if there are any questions.
All right. Any opposition to House Bill 299?
Second.
All right. We have one online. There's two people online.
Are they here to speak in opposition?
All right. I think this bill is in good shape for those who are joining us online. We appreciate you joining us this morning to support the delegates. Good work here. So there's a motion, a second to report House Bill 299. Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
All right, that bill reports. Next up, let's see, let's jump to House Bill 878, Delegate Bulova, on page 7.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning, Delegate.
All right, so actually for 878, the concept for the bill was actually brought to me by a very astute senator over the summer during the Housing Commission meetings. I thought it was a pretty good idea, so worked with the Virginia Municipal League in the interim to come up with the bill that's before you. I think that the best way to describe the need for the bill is what's happened in the city of Fairfax, town of Herndon, town of Vienna over the last decade. And so all three localities have a lot of relatively smaller homes. And so if you can kind of think of them, 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, and while it might not seem like it, those $500,000 ramblers and split levels are actually what is considered workforce housing in Northern Virginia. And over the last decade or two, what's happened is you have speculators who will buy up those lots. The land is very valuable. They'll rip down those homes. They'll put up $1 million plus homes. And so it means those individuals, our teachers and firefighters, have to move further and further out. And so I know that's not a unique phenomena to just Northern Virginia. I know that's something that happens in your district as well, Mr. Chairman. What the bill does is it provides a tool for localities to voluntarily purchase the development rights from a property owner to preserve that affordable housing. And this is actually modeled after the current authority for localities to purchase the redevelopment rights for open space. And so it allows them to preserve that open space and buy that right to develop for a certain period of time. And so when you think about it, it just gives a locality the ability to approach a property owner and offer to purchase the redevelopment rights for that property over a certain amount of time. So you can still live in it, you can still sell it. It's just that you have to actually preserve the home itself. The details in terms of the amount and the amount of time is up to the locality and the person who's going to be purchased, or the property owner. I think the biggest question that I often get is what would it take for a locality to offer somebody and for me to accept to have those development rights purchased? That would be up to the locality, but what I didn't realize is that actually new affordable housing is also pretty expensive. And so in FY 2023, according to our appropriations staff. When you look at housing trust fund, private investment, tax credits, the average cost of a new affordable unit is $500,000. And so when you think about it, you have an opportunity to preserve affordable housing at a much cheaper rate than creating that new affordable housing. So, Mr. Chairman, that's what the bill does. I want to appreciate VML for working with me on this particular bill. I do have amendments at the request of Fairfax County. I think their concern was just making sure that this didn't, that we had amendments kind of making sure that all this power was for this chapter and that it didn't cross-pollinate with other authority that they might have. And so I believe that council has the amendments, and that's all it does is ensure that it's encapsulated.
Great. Thank you, Delegate.
Move the committee amendment.
Council, you have the amendments? All right, the delegates explain the amendments. There's a motion and a second on the amendments. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Amendments are before us. Thank you for walking us through your fine bill, Delegate.
Move to report as amended.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report as amended. All right, Senator Servant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question as to how this would play out in practice. So someone would be able to sell the development rights to their property, remain living in the property, and that right of the county or the locality to develop the property, would that have an end date to it?
Mr. Chairman, so yes. So when you think about it, it's kind of the bundle of sticks, you know, when you're dealing with property rights. And so you'd be selling your right to redevelop that home to make it not affordable housing. And so there's two things that would be in operation, which is how much would you need to offer to the property owner to do that? And then the other one is how long, right? So the minimum in here right now is 5 years, but that could be 5, 10, 15, 20. It would totally be at the discretion of the property owner with respect to how long that would be.
And then follow up, Mr.
Senator Sturtevant.
And forgive me if I missed this in the bill. Is this for currently totally undeveloped property, or if this was someone's single-family home?
This is
Delegate Bulova.
Mr. Chairman. This is aimed at a current single-family home, right? So not a blank slate. This is preserving something that's already out there. Thank you.
Senator Rome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Speaking to the bill.
Senator Rome.
Just to piggyback on what the conversation just was, in Manassas Park right now, which, Mr. Chairman, I know you did represent and I currently represent, I've got 65-year-old Cape Cods right now on the market going for $450,000 to $500,000. You're talking about 2 levels on a third of an acre, quarter acre lots right now. And when these homes get torn down, what's being replaced with them are $800,000, $900,000 homes right now. It's impossible to, if you were a first-time home buyer like I am right now and trying to get into the market for a first time, it's just everything's priced out. And so this is the closest thing that we can do to having something that is somewhat just sane in terms of affordable housing anywhere that's left in our area. A 65-year-old house should not be going for $500,000, and yet that is very common in Northern Virginia.
Thank you, Senator Rome. Delegate Bulova, you have interested the queue of names. You have Senator Stanley, followed by Senator Williams-Grave, followed by Senator Pekarski.
Thank you,
Senator Stanley.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So, having grown up in Vienna and gone back and visited, and have seen houses that I used to go over to my friend's house, and they were the post-World War II, smaller house. Now, with this giant house in between, again, houses built in 1948. I totally agree, with you. It kind of changes the whole dynamic of the neighborhood, and maybe I'm an old fart and I think that way. But so if I'm one of those houses and I sell my developmental rights to Vienna, but then I sell the house to somebody else, am I giving Vienna the right of first refusal? Or if I sell it to Senator Suderline, is he bound by my restriction on that property?
So Delegate Bulova. Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, no, Town of Vienna doesn't have a right to first refusal. But what it does say is that you can again live, sell your home. You just can't knock it down and build a McMansion on top of it. And so it's not meant to abridge any other kind of rights that you have to the enjoyment and use of that property. It's just that you need to keep it as affordable housing as existing.
Senator Stanley.
So is that transferable, though? So let's say I don't knock it down, I keep it there. Mr. Suderline, Senator Suderline wants to buy it. Does he then go to Vienna and get that same kind of promise not to redevelop? Or have I now restricted his ability to either add on, knock it down, or make it bigger?
So, Mr. Chairman, the restriction would transfer with the land. So if you buy it, you're also subject to those same kind of requirements.
And Mr. Chairman.
Senator Stanley.
And so therefore, and final question, I promise. So therefore, I would have to give a notice to any potential buyer if I'm going to sell it, hey, you can't knock down this house, you have to keep it like it is.
That'd be correct. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Williams Graves, followed by Senator Pekarsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the patron, I think I'm just speaking to this bill in that my understanding, and I think all of us here kind of understand, that property is designed to increase in value. So whether the house is built in 1928, 1968, 1978, it is designed to increase in value over time. We tell folks that the road to generational wealth is through home ownership. And so when you're saying that this property, if you sell the development rights to this property, that you're saying it has to remain affordable. Affordable to who? Affordable is, I mean, based on what the market will bear, you're now stifling someone from being able to utilize and benefit from the equity that their property would acquire over a period of time where real estate increases in value. And then you stifle the neighborhood, because if I have a home and my home may be worth $500,000, but some years later, the city bought this other home next door to mine and it's deemed affordable at $250,000, then now I'm screwed as a neighbor. So, and I don't want to get screwed as a neighbor. I want my house to increase in value, and I want the houses around me to increase in value. And so I have a problem kind of fundamentally with the fact that houses are supposed to increase in value, and that it seems like this bill is stifling homeowners' ability to be able to do that.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Williams, I'm not sure there's a question versus speaking to the motion. Is that right? Oh, okay, I just want to make sure the delegate wasn't expected response. You're willing to respond. We also now have Senator Pekarsky, Senator Van Valkenburg. Senator Pekarsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Williams Graves and I were sidebarring on this, so we're kind of of the same mind. Those were the initial questions that came up for me too. For many folks, home ownership
speaking to the motion.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, speaking to the motion, but I would also like to give the patron the opportunity to respond to these concerns. So I will not reiterate them, but I'd like to hear the response from the delegate, please.
Delegate Bulva.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess what I would say, I guess in response to kind of both those questions, is your property still increases in value. And so you're not saying you're putting any kind of cap with respect to how much you can sell that home for. That Rambler, that split level, that's $500,000 today, even if you purchase the development rights, might be $600,000, $700,000 in a decade, right? And so you're not stifling the market. You're just saying, hey, we're preserving a piece of affordable workforce housing. I guess the other thing that I would put in there is that this is completely voluntary, right? And so a property owner has to make the purposeful decision that in order to forego somebody being able to rip down that home and put in $1 million home, that it's worth it to you in order to get that cash up front, in order to forego that property right over time. And so again, it's a voluntary tool that would have to be entered into mutually between the property owner and the locality.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for the patron. So, Mr. Chair, Delegate Bova, let's flip the scenario. And it's not somebody buying it because they want to rip it down and buy $1 million home. It's somebody who's tearing it down because they want the neighborhood's changed. It's become different. And they want to build a duplex, or they want to build more units. You're still locked in under this bill. Are you still locked into that single family home that might in that scenario actually be holding up more affordable housing?
Delegate
So,
Bulva.
Mr. Chairman, what I would say is that we've purposely left this very flexible so that it doesn't speak one way or the other to whether you could or couldn't do that. It would be anticipated that the locality would either include that or not include that with respect to the purchase of development. So the idea is to preserve the affordable housing, but it would be up to the locality to decide whether or not that affordable housing was preserving it, or if it was falling apart and you wanted to rebuild it and keep it as affordable housing, that could also be part of the program.
Got really quiet in here, Delegate. I'm going to ask a question, though. So is my understanding that, for instance, this vehicle could be used, for instance, if I wanted to sell, I was an elderly individual, I've had lots of equity in this house. Most of that might be tied up into it, but I need some additional cash that is not necessarily liquid at that point in time, but my wealth is tied up in the cash. This, in fact, could live there for 20, 30 years, original home buyer, lots of equity in the house. I don't want to do anything but simply live in my house, but this could afford, depending on whatever that price is, give me some additional cash to work with. Would that be accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's probably other applications like that that could be where people make the choice where they've gained lots of equity or they gain value over the existing property, and while they may be tying up future equity, future growth value, they're making that choice for whatever financial reasons and interest may be in that community.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So there's still any other follow-up comments? There is a motion that has been seconded to report as amended. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 9, no 6.
That bill handily reports. Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the robust debate. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Delegate Simon. You've got one bill that's already been referred. So next up is, let's see, House Bill
54.
54. Committee will turn their attention to House Bill 54.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is a charter change for the City of Falls Church. What it does is it deletes the restrictions on who can be appointed to boards, authorities, and commissions, and just has a default to what the general law of the Commonwealth would be. Most city charters are sort of silent on this issue. Falls Church had a city charter that was fairly restrictive about who could serve. We tried a different approach to broadening the ability to participate. Had some folks a little suspicious about what the motives were. There's really nothing to be suspicious of, so this is just a more general approach, which is deleting that section of the charter which would have restricted who could serve on boards, authorities, and commissions, and it'll be governed by the general laws of Virginia.
Questions of the delegate on House Bill 54? Any opposition to House Bill 54?
Move to report.
Any online speakers on House Bill 54? There's a motion and a second to report House Bill 54, which would delete the code section, basically leaving it up to general law for that code section. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you very much for your attention.
All right, next up is Delegate Callison, House Bill 456, followed by Delegate Lopez, followed by Martinez. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, on committee. You have House Bill 456 before you. This is about removing the statutory cap on salaries that city councilors have. The cap was last set 25 years ago. It has not been updated. Towns do not have the same restriction. Board of Supervisors do not have the same restrictions. So this would be bringing city councils into alignment with what we require of supervisors in towns. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Delegate. Any opposition to House Bill 456? Any online? All right. There's a motion and a
second. Anyone?
Second.
And a second to report House Bill 456. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 10, Sorry, ayes 5, noes 10.
Having voted on the prevailing side on which this motion failed to report, I now move that it be reconsidered. Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to reconsider the manner in which House Bill 456 failed. Clerk, open the roll.
There you go.
I am now thoroughly confused by the Senate.
That
Ayes 14,
all right.
noes 1.
Mr. Chairman,
House Bill 456
I move
is
that this
now-
bill go by for the week.
All right, there's a motion and a second for House Bill 456 to go by for the week. Is this your first bill?
This is not my
Before
first
local
bill.
government?
Yes, it is.
Happy Monday.
Thanks.
That bill will go by for the week.
Okay.
To the wood chipper.
Thank you.
All right, who wants to take their lucky turn next? Delegate Lopez, come on up.
Morning, members of the subcommittee. I have 2 bills before the subcommittee. Yeah, you just messed with, that was pretty intense. I appreciate that. I have 2
House Bill
bills.
456.
You want to do that one for?
You want to take that up for her? That
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
so good.
exactly. I'm gonna do
All right,
that
now,
again.
all right. So we're up to House
I'm gonna
Bill.
do it again, do it better, make sure it gets passed.
All right, you got House Bill 947 and then House Bill 953. So page 6 of the committee's docket. House Bill 947.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill offers a simple step to tackle the problem of childhood vaping or tobacco use. Allow localities to regulate by ordinance and prevent shops that primarily sell tobacco, nicotine, or hemp products from being sited near schools or daycare centers. Under the bill, a locality may prohibit a retail sale location within 1,000 linear feet of a child daycare center or public, private, or parochial school. The bill does not affect gas stations or convenience stores, and it doesn't affect any retail sale locations operating before July 1st of 2024. I hope that's the will of the committee to pass the bill. I can answer any questions you might have.
You got one in the queue, Senator Durant. Durant, followed by Pekarsky.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate this bill coming forth. This is permissive for localities to set that parameter. I was just curious about the 1,000-foot linear. How did you arrive at that distance? Was it?
When we were working
Delegate
with
Lopez.
sorry, Mr. Chairman, I would answer the senator that when working with localities up in Northern Virginia, that was the recommendation that they had sent us, and it was from 4 or 5 different localities we spoke with.
Senator Pekarsky, followed by Senator Williams Graves.
Mr. Chair, just quickly speaking to the motion.
It's not a motion. We can speak to the bill.
Oh, yes, there isn't. Speaking to the bill, sorry. Whew, it's Monday morning. I will just say, I want to thank the delegate for bringing this. Vaping has wrecked the lives of many children. It has become a full-time job for school administrators and teachers to try to take control of what is happening in bathrooms and all over school facilities. And a lot of these places have really engaged in predatory practices. So I'm very happy to support this. And when we're done, I'll give a motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the bill. Speaking, there's still a queue. Senator Williams Grave, followed by Senator Sturtevant, followed by Senator Durant. Senator Williams Graves.
Mr. Chair, to Senator Durant's point, I believe that 1,000-foot parameter is in line with like guns and drug sales and gun sales and things of that nature with regard to schools. I know we have a similar situation with some things in Norfolk where the 1,000-foot from a school is the parameter, and that's come from somewhere. So I think it's in line.
Senator Sturtevant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, does this statute as drafted or intended involve additional regulation beyond just the siting or location of the retail location?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer the senator that no, this is simply about the linear feet and the location. And once again, I would reiterate what Senator Durant had just mentioned, that this is a local option. A locality may choose to do this through local ordinance. And so it's really up to the locality to choose to have the ability to do this.
Any follow-up?
Yes, Mr. Chair, follow-up question on
Senator.
to my original point on the distance. So, and I very much respect the permissive nature of the bill, and the linear feet was as a result of some guidelines from, I believe, some folks that were in your district. So this might be more of a question for council and also potentially for the patron. If there is something that another locality that has, I guess they're seeking maybe to accomplish what your bill is looking to do, but that linear feet may be different for a more rural locality, more suburban, but they still want to accomplish the same end. Is this bill, maybe that linear feet, should we be discussing a different permissiveness for other localities that might have a greater distance that they still want to accomplish the same end?
So,
Delegate Lopez.
Mr. Chairman, I would answer the senator that the linear feet is the floor, not the ceiling. If a locality wanted to do more than 1,000 feet, that would be up to them to create their own ordinance to do so. This is simply saying it shall not be less than.
Delegate Lopez, is this similar to ABC laws where we'd have provide restrictions already on the books and many other things within our code that restricts certain sale or activity from preschools, churches, and lots of other things in our code? Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Senator Williams-Graves, you still in the queue? All right, there's this motion and a second to report House Bill 947. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
That bill reports. Next up is House Bill 953. Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. This bill gives localities that choose, once again, local option, that choose to pursue the option, the authority to create a permanent fund known as the Local Environment Impact Fund, LEAF, to make grants to residents or locally owned businesses to mitigate environmental impacts. For instance, a locality could use their impact fund to provide energy efficient appliances to cut energy consumption and bills, e-bikes to improve mobility and access for families, or HVAC equipment to help address urgent issues like emergency replacements. Overall, the bill simply gives localities a helpful tool, and it's useful as a complement to any potential statewide energy efficiency efforts. Moreover, it would not ban anything, nor would it require residents to take any actions they don't feel that are in their best interest, and would only involve local funds. Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee, I hope you will pass the bill.
Thank you, Delegate. Any opposition to House Bill 953, either in person or online? Questions from the committee? Is there a motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to report House Bill 953. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee.
That bill reports. All right, Delegate, come on up. You've got, let's see.
Mr. Chairman, committee, thank you for allowing me to be here and report my bill. And thank you for making me last, because the climb up the stairs gave me time to gain my breath and describe my bill.
House Bill 5.
As a former 5-time vice mayor of the town of Leesburg, I've seen it grow from 12,000 to 54,000, which is the largest town in the Commonwealth. And in that time, we've had several issues with transportation and parking within our area. I have been a fan of creating a parking authority for years, and now we're in the dire need for one. We have potential to have a development that offers affordable housing, but the current limitation of a 40-year lease prohibits that project from moving forward. By making it a parking authority, the town of Leesburg will have few options to help generate funds to pay for additional parking if we need it. But more importantly, in this project, allow us to exceed the 40-year term lease so that we can move this project forward. We have, this is not a precedent. We have at least 12 towns that I know of that currently have parking authorities. If you want, I can list them all. But essentially what the local parking authority would do would allow Leesburg to enter the long-term lease with private entities. And, I have more, but, I think for brevity's sake, unless you want more information on this bill, I can continue because I did get my breath back. So I'll leave it at the will of the chair to.
Thank you, Delegate. Is this also your first bill?
My first bill in this local government.
There we go. Senator Rome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for the patron.
Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Was this, Mr. Chairman, I would ask the patron, did this come at the request of the town of Leesburg? Have they taken an official vote on it?
Mr. Chairman, if I may speak to the senator, the response is that, yes, the town of Leesburg is the primary stakeholder.
Right. So, Mr. Chair, to follow up.
Senator Rome.
Mr. Chair, I was just asking if the town council has voted on it. Did they give us an official, yes, this is part of their legislative agenda?
Yes, it's, Mr. Chairman. Senator, this has been primary on their legislative agenda, which has been passed through the town council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Aird.
having heard that this is at the request of the local government, I move to report.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 5. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 1, 1 abstention.
That bill reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Clerk, does that complete our agenda? All right. Next up will be a similar agenda of mix of bills similar to this complement. So please do read through the bills, identify if there's issues ahead of time, reach out to patrons so we can keep this moving. Committee will rise.
The Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia.